Hey guys, it's Tom M from Tabletop Republic, and I am doing a deck tech for Yorion Sky Nomad. This was a card from Ikoria. It's one of the companions, very popular in Standard before they changed the companion rule, but I have always liked it just because of the effect where when it enters, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control, and return to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. It is a flicker deck. So what that basically means is putting stuff on the board and then constantly taking it out and putting it back in for free. Well, not for free, for low mana. So, getting a bunch of enter the battlefield effects, just constantly getting either cards which, rely on stuff entering and exiting, all kinds of bits. But, I'll go through it and you can see what on earth I am talking about. So, obviously, you've got the Commander. Quite good. 5 mana to start off with isn't too bad. You don't need him on the board at all to do any of these effects. And so he is essentially just like having another card in your hand. So you can just be like, all right, I've got loads of enter the battlefield effects here. Let's activate them all. Then, hang on, I've got my little document over here. So, Yorion. Put him just out frame, in frame. Then the first load of cards are all to do with flickering. So you've got Planar Guide. I bought it, it arrived, and I've just lost it. So I'm going to superimpose, the actual card onto the screen so you can see what it does. But yeah, for some mana you can exile everything you own and put it back in. Thassa, Deep Dwelling. This is one of the more expensive cards on this deck. This, by the way, is a semi-budget deck, I'd like to call it. I think hang on, I've got Goldfish up, MTGGoldfish. It comes to just under $80. I had to take out 2 cards, which literally basically doubled it. So, easily upgradable. But $80, I think, is a pretty good budget deck. Especially with a Thassa Deep Dwelling. Very shiny, so I'll to not get the light on it. There we are. Basically, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target creature and put it back. Just an exile every turn. And you can also tap target creatures, which is quite a good second effect. And then all the instant ones, so you've got Cloud Shift for 1 mana, Displace, which you can do 2 for 3 mana, Ephemerate, which again is, you could do it for 1 mana, but also has Rebound. So as you cast it, it exiles, and at the beginning of your next upkeep, you can play it for free. So it happens twice for 1 mana, probably the best one there is. Flicker of Fate again, exile target creature or enchantment and return it back. It can also affect your opponent's stuff, so if they have, for example, a Mutate commander, you could just choose sign on the stack as long as it doesn't have hexproof or anything, and all those cards will magically disappear and it'll be just a bit left with the 1 as that returns. I believe that's how it works. Who knows? It's Mutate, no one knows how it works. Then Illusionist Stratagem, by the way, if you, I'm not going to show all these cards to extensive detail. You can pause if you want to read the proper rules of all the cards. But Illusionist Stratagem, you do 2 of it and you draw a card for 4 mana. Apologies about that. Had a phone call. Judicious Portal. Does it flickers for 2 mana, but it also gains First Strike. It's very Time Twist. I really like it. Exiles 1 for 2 mana, but it also enters with an additional 1/1 counter, which isn't too bad. And then Settle Beyond Reality is the 1 flicker sorcery I have. For 5 mana, you get to exile a target creature you don't control and then flicker one of your things. So I've got a bit of removal and a bit of flicker in 1 card. And then the last flicker card I have is Synod Sanctum. I could easily remove this. It's not the best. It requires a lot of effort and hopefully, people don't remove it. But for 2 mana in every turn, you can tap it, remove a permanent you control from the game, and then for 2 mana and sacking this. So you can do it for 4 mana straight away. Return to play all cards removed with this card. So it's definitely a long con kind of game plan 1, but it's good if you're not allowed to, if someone plays a card where you're not allowed to play anything from your hand, or Blood Moon or anything. Then I have Enter the Battlefield flicker effects. So these are cards where when they enter, they can cause things to flicker. So pretty much that, but they require to enter, whereas these, are instants and sorceries mostly. So you've got Charming Prince. I've actually used the scry and gain life option on this quite a lot because it's really good when you basically every turn or every end step you can gain 3 life, which does add up, and then scrying, especially if it's towards the end game. But it's also got the option of flickering a creature. Flicker Wisp, pretty much the namesake of it. It exiles another target permanent, and then it returns it. Glimmerpoint Stag, it's a 3/3 Vigilance, and it flickers. Sentinel of Pearl Trident. This one flickers a historic card. Let me get it to focus properly. So artifact legendaries or sagas. I have a couple of artifacts, but it's mostly for legendaries. Pretty much just focusing on flickering Yorion. Vizier of Deferment, can never say it. It flickers, a card that attacked or blocked. So with the way that attacking and blocking works in the attack phases, I believe you could do that before it actually attacks, because as soon as you declare attacks, it has attacked. It just hasn't gone through yet. So I believe you can bounce it and just cause like attacking effects, which you'll see how it could be good on a Sun Titan later, if it does work like that. You got Skybind. I got mixed up when I first read it because I thought it was. I didn't read the non-enchantment permanent, so I just constantly did Omen of the Sea and just kept scrying and drawing. Didn't help me win any quicker, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I've got quite a few enchantments, so it's quite good for that. Archaeomancer, amazing card, instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. You've seen how many I've got that flicker. Pretty much just bring that back to your hand, play Archaeomancer, it flickers, the instant goes to the graveyard, then you return it back to your hand. You can constantly do that, however much money you have. Then you got, then Baron, where it returns something you control back to your hand. However, or you can put anything into your hand. However, if it's one of your cards, you can draw a card. It's not too bad, but it's just mostly a bit of drawing. Then I have some just normal enter the battlefield cards. So, Daxos, when a creature enters, you gain a life. Dying doesn't count for the exiling of flickering, otherwise that would be very, very good. But pretty much, every turn, when everything comes back in, that counts as entering the battlefield, so you get a lot of life. Elite Guard Mage, when it enters, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Pretty much a staple in any kind of deck that brings things back. Enlightened Ascetic, I can never say it again. All these cards are so confusing to say. When it enters, you destroy target enchantment. I haven't had a lot of luck with this. The one game I think I managed to properly get it out for a few turns, no one had any enchantments but me. So that was fun, just being like, anyone got any enchantments? No, alright, I'll just keep them on the board. Might as well keep them as a blocker. Jeskai Barricade, when it enters, you can return a creature you control to its hand. It's got flash, so it's very good for, chump blocking and then returning it back to your hand. Master Splicer, when it enters, you get a 3/3 Golem, and then all golems you control get +1/1. So technically, when it enters, you get a 4/4 Golem. So you get, a 1/1 and a 4/4 for 4 mana. Very good, and then just constantly get 3/3 Golems. Obviously, you can't flicker the Golems because tokens will die. Mnemonic Wall, I can say that word. When it enters, instant sorcery from graveyard to hand, very similar to Archaeomancer. Mole Drifter, of course, when it enters, draw 2 cards. So I believe you can't play the evoke cost. I'm not sure how it would work on the stack if you play the evoke cost. Then if you flicker it, it will turn back to your hand and go back. And then it would ignore the evoke cost. I have no idea. But, 5 mana to draw 2 cards and then just keep doing that. It's pretty good. Then Niambi, Esteemed Speaker, when it enters, return a creature you control to my hand. It's got flash again, so good protection. But also you gain life for that CMC, and then you can discard legendary to draw 2 cards. I think I've done that once, just because I literally have nothing else to do. Sad Robot, when it enters, get a land card, and when it dies, you draw a card. The dying part doesn't really matter that much. However, the some land search is quite good, especially in white-blue. Stormwing Entity. This is one of the, I think, one of the more expensive cards. I don't even need it really. The enter the battlefield effect is just a scry. However, I just got it in there because it's a flyer. It's got prowess, which doesn't matter too much, but the main thing is just as a bit of aerial defense. Sun Titan, a card that I thought would break the bank on this deck, but it does not. And when it enters or attacks, returns something with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I have quite a few stuff with CMC 3 or less. Not all the deck is it, because I don't want to focus just around Sun Titan. But yeah, very good. Kiora Best to Sea God. Haven't got this out yet. However, if I do, 7 mana for an 8/8 Kraken with hexproof. And then even if I can't flicker it straight away, I get to tap everything, then gain control. As long as I flicker it before that, it comes back on the battlefield and I get another 8/8 Kraken. Just sagas are great with this. This is probably the best saga to have in this deck. I'm looking forward to see what Kaldheim has with sagas. Omen of the Sea, as I mentioned earlier. Scry 2, draw a card when it enters, and then I can sack it to Scry 2. However, you might as well just keep it on the board and keep playing it. And finally, Spine of Ishsar. I didn't like this card when I first played it, however, it has quite a use in this deck, because when it enters, you destroy a permanent. As long as you can have something to keep making it enter the battlefield, you get to destroy quite a lot of things. It includes lands as well, which is always fun. Then, if someone does manage to remove it, it goes back to my hand, rather than going to the graveyard, unless someone exiles it. But yeah, so very useful. Then the next section is counters. Not 1/1 counters, like countering things. So you've got Lavinia. So each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with a CMC greater than the number of lands they control. So it screws over people who have put down a Soul Ring, or have dual lands, or tap lands. Yeah, just this is made to stop higher decks. Good. And then also, if they cast a spell and no mana was spent to cast it, counter it. Again, that comes in very useful, especially against certain people's decks. I just got it in there just because it doesn't have an ATB effect, but still pretty good. Annul, for 1 mana, counter an artifact or enchantment. Always good, get rid of a Soul Ring or something. Counter spell, quite cheap for, the best counter in the game. Deny the Divine, 3 mana, counter creature or enchantment, however it's exiled if it is countered. Essence Scatter, 2 mana, counter a creature, and then negate, 2 mana, counter non-creature. Rewind, 4 mana, counter a spell, and then up to 4 lands. So technically a free spell, but you do need the 4 mana in the first place to do it. Yeah, so those are my the cards to do with countering. Then Destruction. Disenchant, destroy an artifact or enchantment. Got a lot of artifact or enchantment hate. I haven't got a lot of creature hate because, I don't need to remove people's creatures a lot because I could just keep flickering my stuff. I've got quite a lot of creatures in this deck. Let me go to Goldfish. I've got 22 creatures, so quite a lot to protect me. Path to Exile. I do have a creature exile though. It could also, affect me if I need some land. And then board wipe wise for destruction. Shatter the Sky. This is one of the more expensive cards. Obviously, my pricing doesn't include any varieties of like foil or arts or stuff. It's just the cheapest variant. Yeah, it's £1.20 or $1.20 at the moment as I'm recording this on Goldfish. However, pretty good for 4 mana destruction. Supreme Verdict is probably the second most expensive card in the deck. Just because, board wipes are amazing with this. All you're going to do is flicker out all your items, board wipe, and then your items will come back at the end step. So you can board wipe everyone but you with a bit of mana. But it's good. It's expensive because it can't be countered. Time wipe, creature comes back to your hand, then destroy all creatures. Wrath of God, destroying all creatures. So yeah, quite a few mass destruction, not a lot of targeted destruction. Then mana-wise, I've got a Locket. I've got a Commander Sphere. I have a Soul Ring because, you know, in my previous budget deck I didn't have a Soul Ring, and I didn't need a Soul Ring really, but it's always good to have a Soul Ring, just in case. Then I've got it under, these bits under Other, just because they don't really fit in any of these and I don't want to do categories for single cards. This is one of my main win cards, Approach of the Second Sun. Basically, if you cast it, you put it 7th from the top and you gain 7 life. If you cast it for your second time this game, you win. I don't really have a lot of flickering of sorceries and stuff. However, I do have a Narset's Reversal, which is basically where that comes from. I've got room up here. Perfect. Azorius Charm. I can either draw a card, put an attacking or blocking creature on top of the library, or all my stuff gains lifelink. Just a very good choices for 2 mana. Call for Unity. This is one I just added just for, the sake of it, just because no one will really target it. It's not that good. But at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield, put a counter on it, and then creatures get +1/1 for each counter on it. So, at every one of your end steps, all your creatures get buffed pretty much, because you won't have a turn where you won't flicker. Then Commit and Memory. Put a spell second from top, and then each player shuffles their hand and library into the graveyard, then draw 7 cards, just in case I haven't got any. I'd mostly be using it for, I'll do that then, just to get memory out, just because obviously I go through quite a lot of instants and sorceries in this deck, so you just bring them all back to my deck. Fact or Fiction to just draw, but obviously just give my... there's nothing really, there's a proper win con of the deck, apart from Approach from the Second Sun. However, if they put Approach to the Second Sun in one part, and the other 4 cards in the other, obviously I'm going to pick Approach. So, there's some good choices I can make with that. Flood of Tears. Return everything to the hand. However, you can put stuff back on the battlefield if you had 4 or more non-token permanents returned. So I could either flicker my stuff, then do that, or return all stuff from my hand in case something bad's about to happen. Frozen Ether. It's very good. Basically everything your opponents have come into play tapped. Just very annoying, and they'd want that to be the target, just not focus too much on the other stuff that I've got. Game plan again, just reset everyone's hands. Law Mage's Binding to block a creature, or stop a creature from attacking, blocking, and stopping its activated abilities. Lazotep Plating, one of the most underrated cards in the game. For 2 mana, you and permanents you control gain hexproof till end of turn. 2 mana for whole turn protection. Love it. Narset's Reversal, of course. I could do flicker cards with it. I could do anything, and because it's 2 mana, it's pretty easy to return back to my hand with, instants and sorcery base ones unless it's exiled. String of Disappearances. Return something to the hand, then that creature's controller may pay 2, and they can copy it, so they can pick one of my cards to go back to my hand. But I could just flicker at instant speed, probably. Tidal Barracuda is the final non-land card in this deck. I really like this. I wasn't sure when I put it in. I was like, it won't really flash a lot. Oh man, it's so good because it helps other people, and then you could be like, oh yeah, I'll flicker it back to my hand with some of these cards. You can't get any flashing, and then I bring it back on my turn. Just like, oh look, I'll flash. Oh, what's that? You're about to flash. Now I'll bring it back to my hand with some of my flash return cards. Again, yeah, it's just when you see it in action, you'll understand how ridiculous this can be. Then lands. So in terms of islands, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 islands. Planes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 planes. This is here. Just chill up, I got work. Because this is one of the expensive cards I have flipped over, because I'm going to keep this card in the deck unless I purposely want to make it unless we all make it budget beat budget. Just, yeah. This is ridiculous, isn't it? Just get all that mana. Then the blue lands, Castle Vantress. Obviously, there's not a lot of flickering in lands. There are some where it is a permanent, but I kept quite a few of these as untapped lands in case I wanted to flicker them for any reason, but I don't mind having some tap lands in here because it also keeps the budget down. Castle Vantress, you've got Coral Atoll, Mystic Sanctuary, again, instant or sorcery, Vivid Creek. Then the multicolour ones, I've got Command Tower, Temple of Enlightenment, Tranquil Cove, then the white cards, Castle Ardenvale, New Benalia, I can't speak, Vivid Meadow, and then the colourless ones, Arcane Lighthouse, Darksteel Citadel. Endless Sands is a flicker land, it's brilliant. 2 and tap, exile creature control, then 4 tap and sacking, return each creature card back to my control. Evolving Wilds, Myriad Landscape, Radiant Fountain. You know, I can bring this, tap this to gain a couple of life if I can flicker it in. Reliquary Tower. There's not a lot of drawing in this deck because it's mostly focusing on combinations of stuff I already have on the battlefield, but in case I do draw a lot, quite good. Tectonic Edge and Terramorphic Expanse. So, on the screen now, I'll put up the MTGGoldfish with the current prices. I'm recording this on the 11th of January 2021, just for a reference of the prices and stuff. But yeah, Yorion itself is about $1.50. Charming Prince is over $1. Solemn Simulacrum. Thasser is the most expensive card in the deck. Now I've taken out Smothering Tithe. It's not even the best, so you can also remove it. Storming Entity, again, is over $1. You don't need it. Missed out Tidal Barracuda, again, you don't need it in the deck. So you can make this super budget. I've just got a few in here just because I already had them. I didn't need to buy them. Counterspell, the most expensive counter there is, but you could just swap it out for something worse. Path to Exile, again, I just had it, so I put it in. Narset's Reversal is $4.50. See, that one you can remove, however, approaching the second time will be a bit harder. I just keep it, as soon as I draw it, I keep it in my hand until I get second sun, then if I have the mana, I've won. Shatter the Sky is $1. Supreme Verdict, again, just get rid of for any board wipe. Same with Wrath of God. Can be a bit more expensive. Price doesn't really, mana cost doesn't really matter a lot. Flood of Tears, that's over $1. Again, just you can swap these out for any kind of cheap card or, even mediocre ETB effect, where it's like when it enters you gain a life. Just keep doing that and it'll add up. Game Plan and Commit Memory, $1 each for restarting your hand and everyone else's hand could be quite good. Approach the second sun, definitely keep in there. Then, Kyoto Best Sea God, $2.30. Arcane Lighthouse is quite expensive, so just remove it for another land if you want. Castle Ardenvale just creates tokens, hence why it's so expensive, but easily removable. Said literally, you can modify this deck however you want, make it as cheap or as expensive as you want. It was literally the first card that I did. The Planar Guide used to be another expensive card, but it wasn't even that good in this deck. Recruiter of the Guard, which when it enters, you search for, you can shoot her for something with toughness 2 or less, and put it back in your hand. Put it in your hand, but it doesn't. I don't have a lot of stuff with toughness 2 or less. So yeah, feel free to have a play around with this deck if you want. See how budget you can make it while still being effective. But yeah, that was my sort of budget deck for Yorion Sky Nomad, the deck I'm enjoying the most at the minute while playing EDH online with other people. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you later.